Welcome to Eat, Walk, Play, a podcast about good eats, great travels, and grand adventures. Each week, we deliver fun interviews and engaging conversations with fellow food lovers, globetrotters, and adventure seekers. I'm your host, Era Prado. Hi, guys. Welcome to Eat, Walk, Play podcast. I'm Ara, and today we are proud to announce that this is our first ever episode of Eat, Walk, Play podcast, and we're really excited for this. Unfortunately, I don't have a guest speaker, so it's just gonna be me. Hopefully, I don't bore you guys out. But just to let you know of Eat, Walk, Play's motto, we believe in good eats, great travels, and grand adventures. So we want to bring you guys everything in that space, news, updates, tips, fun conversation and interviews. So that is what we want. Unfortunately, because of the COVID-19 situation and the lockdowns and community quarantines in place, this first episode is going to be centered on the COVID-19 pandemic and how it really affected people and the travel situation. Okay, so we still want to stay true to the brand. We don't want to get into the gory details of the COVID-19 because we already get enough of that in the news. We don't really want to bring out like negative vibes on the first episode of the show. So, first off, here in the Philippines, the ECQ has been extended until May 15th in a lot of major areas like Metro Manila and a lot more. But it's also been lifted in a few cities and towns. Though there are mixed feelings on that. A lot of people think that it's not a good decision to really lift the ECQ because of the second wave of the virus. Some people think it's the right time because it really is time to get sort of like their lives back to quote unquote normal. Personally, I stand on the former. Like I don't believe that we should be lifting the ECQ prematurely until we really see a decline on the new cases as well as the deaths. And I think we should only lift this lockdown when we have mass testing available and we can really get a hold on this virus, whether that's a cure or a vaccine. Yeah, because there are countries that have lifted the lockdowns and community quarantines early on, and they were hit quite badly with the second wave, like Singapore and a city in Japan. So yeah, here in the Philippines, we're really hoping that we don't experience that because as it stands, we don't have the facilities or the equipment to, I guess, accommodate the amount of people that could possibly be infected. But that's enough of that. We don't really want to get into so much details on that, but I do want to discuss the difference between ECQ and GCQ because if the lockdown is going to be lifted on May 15th, starting May 16th, we're going to be under GCQ or general community quarantine. A lot of people are still confused about the two, and we want to just specify the differences. Okay. Now, for the ECQ or the Enhanced Community Quarantine, it specifies the following. Number one, everyone is required to stay at home. If possible, only one member of the household should go out to buy necessities. This is where the the quarantine pass comes in, where they usually give out one quarantine pass per household with that person's name to really ensure that that is the right person to use it. Um, Number two, suspension of public transportation such as trains, LRT, MRT, and PNR, jeepneys, buses, taxis, FX, UV Express, and TNVS. But TNVS, these are like the Grab, Angkas services. Okay. Number three, suspension of work except for frontliners. Shout out to our frontliners who are really risking their lives to ensure that the rest of us are safe at home. Number four, establishments that provide basic necessities will remain open. Shopping malls are closed. So, by establishments that provide basic necessities, we're talking about drugstores, grocery stores, some restaurants, some food chains, but not all. And if I'm not mistaken, a lot of grocery stores and what do you call this? Drugstores are operating on like a specified operating hours. So it's not like their normal operating hours as well. Number five, everyone is required to wear a mask, especially when going to public places. This goes without question. However, one thing that we have noticed is there are a lot of people still refusing to observe this number five rule properly. We've still seen a lot of people going out of their homes, not wearing a mask, interacting with other people, also not wearing a mask. And we've even seen government officials on pictures when they're giving out relief goods or the cash allowance to certain individuals, and they're not wearing masks. It is really unfortunate, especially because this is being, pushed out to the public, and it sort of discourages others to follow in a way, and it's worrisome because we're actually seeing these people not following the law that has been put in place by the government for our own safety, right? But anyway, that's another matter altogether. Number six in the ECQ list, permanent residents of the Philippines are allowed to return from abroad but should be in home quarantine. Filipinos in the country are not allowed to travel abroad. Okay, so that's ECQ. ECQ. Now, the GCQ, or General Community Quarantine, it specifies the following. Number one, public transportation will be allowed, but passengers shall observe social distancing. So we're talking about jeepneys here in the Philippines. We're no longer allowed to squeeze 24 people in an 18-seater jeepney. Now it's going to be much less than that because I think we would need to have like a one-person space in between. I think that's what's going to happen, or probably even more. Number two, malls will be open but with restrictions. Proper wearing of masks and temperature checks are needed upon entering. Number three, airports will be opened for transferring of goods. Now, we actually have news about this later on, but yeah, we'll get to that in a bit. Number four, senior citizens and high health risk persons will still be required to stay at home. We're talking about senior citizens, pregnant women, people with disability, and of course, children. Number five, offices will be opened but only limited to certain industries. And if I'm not mistaken, a skeletal workforce is highly recommended. Okay, so that is basically the differences between ECQ and GCQ. So the GCQ really has a lot of more leniency to it. But again, just thinking about it, that we're not really seeing a good trend, and I think one thing to consider is only 0.01, if I'm not mistaken, 0.01% of the Philippine population has been tested for the COVID-19, and the rest is still a mystery, right? So we don't really know if we're really safe. And yeah, I get that we want to observe, we want to keep the masks on, sanitizing every now and then, or actually often, right? But when we're all outside trying to live our normal lives, that can be a little bit impossible, honestly. So yeah, one thing though, actually a couple of things that I've noticed. Let's talk about the positive. Okay, let's talk about the positive points of this um, lockdown happening. One thing that I've actually noticed is a lot of people turned into home cooks. That's actually really good, and this also applied to me. I've always loved cooking. Cooking has always been a passion that ran into our family, and being stuck at home and working from home, I actually had more time, experimenting again in the kitchen. And this is great because I got the chance to cook for my daughter, and I even used the oven again. Started using the oven again. I started learning to bake. Um, Cookies and cook bake dishes basically. So yeah, it's amazing. I started to experiment with some recipes and got great results. And I think it's not just me. A lot of people have been posting, a lot of my Facebook friends have been posting their own recipes online. And it's really great. Some of them are actually selling their creations, their food creations, and it's really good because you really find, or sorry, you really see how Filipinos, we fight. We don't want to be stuck at home, not have income whatsoever. We really try to make the most of what we have, and just selling food, delivering them to places, meeting up, and then selling it to your buyers. That works, and you get to feed other people. So I think that's really, really good. Another thing is, I've noticed that a lot of small food businesses have boomed during this lockdown because of Food Panda. This is I'm talking from I guess experience, because my brother and sister-in-law, they opened a small restaurant. It's actually a Tapsihan. Shout out to Tapsihan sa Main Ave. It's in San Pedro Laguna. It's in Pasita actually, and they've had quite they've had quite a few customers when the lockdown wasn't happening whatsoever. Dinner time apparently is really good there, but when the lockdown came in place and people were just I guess they're tired of cooking every day. When Food Panda was once again operational, and their restaurant was finally part of the app, they've had a lot more customer orders coming in, and it really did their business good. I mean, goes without saying, the return on investment is much lower because the Food Panda's cut on the revenue, but still, they're getting a lot more customers, and they're getting a lot more popularity because of this lockdown and because of the Food Panda app. So I think a lot of businesses have been given an opportunity to really put their brands out there and make sales, and it's like just finding a silver lining. And it's really good. We're hoping that even after this lockdown, the people would still find it in themselves to really just seek out these restaurants that they're frequenting. I personally am a huge Food Panda user. During this lockdown, I've ordered countless times, and it's really, really handy. That's something I'm gonna say. I've tried using Grab Food. I've struggled with Grab Food because there's no riders available all the time. So I pretty much gave up on that. So I went Food Panda all the way. And I personally have discovered a lot of new restaurants because, I only see like the name, and I don't really know most of them, but they're in my area. I've never frequented them. So I just give it a go, see which ones have good ratings, and test their food out. I love trying out new restaurants and testing out new dishes. Whether I get disappointed or not is really a coin toss. But yeah, there's this. I'm not plugging, by the way. I'm just really mentioning some names. But there's this takoyaki place here in Pasita, San Pedro Laguna, which I frequented. Takoyakix is their name, and I believe it's a franchise. but they have like really good takoyaki for a really affordable price. And yeah, so you get free delivery from Food Panda. So it just really makes sense if you want something a little bit more different. And there's a couple of other restaurants and cafes that I've tried out, and I'm so happy, and as well as disappointed by a few others. But yeah, I'm just saying, Food Panda. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person who's really made the most out of it. Used them frequently. I'm sure there are a lot of people who really used this as well as other food delivery services like Angkas. I think Angkas also has like food delivery already, specifically because of this COVID-19 to give the riders income still, right? And to make it easier for the customers to really get their food delivered and whatnot. So I think it's really nifty nowadays. We've used Grab Food and Food Panda before, but because of this pandemic, because of the lockdown, it really boomed. It really hit its peak. So I think it's really great. Um, Now with the again lockdown, I don't know how many times I'm gonna say that word. Probably be a drinking game now, but yeah, because of the lockdown, a lot of us are trying to pass the time, reading books. I think a lot of people are reading books. I don't know why I went first with that, but a lot of people are passing the time maybe on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and the ever so trusted Netflix, right? So I myself have caught up to a few series because of this lockdown. I've finished Money Heist, hurrah! I've watched Friends 3 times, the entire series from season 1 to season 10. So that's not weird at all. I'm currently in the middle of finishing The Big Bang Theory. But there is one show that I want to encourage you all to watch, especially for those who are travelers and are really just missing the feeling of being out there and exploring the world and seeing scenic places. One show that I stand by is Tales by Light. It's a documentary series. It has 3 seasons with 6 episodes per season, if I'm not mistaken. Um, it's really great because, well, basically this show is a partnership between Netflix and National Geographic Channel, and it per episode we are joined by famous travel photographers, well known in their respective fields. So we are taken on a journey that combines the awesomeness, which is the earth, and the art of taking photographs and taking videos. So it's really awesome because we get to see the world. I've seen my fair share of travel documentaries and travel shows, but I don't think I've seen it quite like this. We are taken on a different journey, and we get to see the world from a different perspective, right? We get to see the world from the eyes of people who really go out of their way to discover new places, new things, new cultures, and bring it to the forefront and show it to us. This is really exciting for me. I'm sorry, but yeah. I like that each season also has, for all my fellow lovers of the sea, Thalassio Files out there. Each season of Tales by Light has a couple of episodes designated for like underwater fun, underwater adventures. It's really beautiful, and I especially love. There's this episode. I'm actually gonna look it up right now on Netflix that I really, really love because honestly, no matter how much I love the sea, I'm afraid of sharks, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. I feel like that is a constant fear at the back of everyone's minds because sharks are, sharks. It's really scary no matter how you look at it. But there's this episode in season 2, episodes 4 and 5, titled "Misunderstood Predators," parts 1 and part 1 and part 2. The underwater photographer Eric Cheng basically takes us on a great underwater adventure, and the reason why I really am passionate about this and I'm speaking in length about it is because I've never thought sharks could be nice. I don't know how to make that seem, make that have more sense, but you know what I mean, right? We've all seen Jaws. We've all seen Meg. We've all had that fear of, when sharks attack. But this couple of episodes, it's amazing because we get to see that sharks could be, like, I'm not going to say like pets, but they have a tameness to them, like an innocence to them, that they actually seek attention and love as well. It's really interesting. I can't stress this enough without spoiling it, but we actually get to see these sharks circling around these divers just to be petted. Just to be petted like dogs. We're talking about like how we rub the heads of dogs, and we see these divers and these photographers actually doing that. They're just like rubbing the head of the sharks and giving them love, and we even get to see one of them, because one shark was actually caught on a piece of plastic, I guess, that was underwater, and it was just like slicing through the shark's skin, and we got to see one diver like really help the shark out of that. And we also get to see the shark just like circling back around, sort of like giving a thank you and showing his appreciation for what happened. I mean, it might sound unconvincing when I say it, but I do highly recommend that you guys watch it. I'm not kidding. Those are the episodes that I really, really feel strongly about, the underwater episodes. But the rest of the episodes are also really good. On season 3, we get to see Orlando Bloom. He's joined by Simon Leister, and they're in Bangladesh, basically covering. They're for UNICEF, and they're covering. Let me see. Ooh. Yeah, they're basically covering how young children are being forced to do work. Being forced to work in Bangladesh. So yeah, give it a go, guys. We still have a few days for sure that we are on lockdown. So watch it, and I'm telling you, it's gonna satisfy your wanderlust like no other. It's amazing. So yeah, that is enough about that. Now, here's this might not be the best transition whatsoever, but I do want to talk about the travel and tourism situation in the Philippines. It has changed, or it will, it will change. But let me just go to that real quick. Okay. So anyway, remember when we were reading about the ECQ and the GCQ difference, right? So once GCQ has been lifted, airports will be open for transferring of goods. But I've also came across this. I came across this article just today. A friend of mine shared it on Facebook about incoming international flights starting on May 11th. So starting on May 11th, international flights can actually come in. I'm sorry, I'm a bit distracted. I'm actually looking for the article. Sorry. I'm looking for the article, and I just want to read it to you guys. This is from ABS-CBN News. Okay, so I'm gonna read it out loud to you guys. So this is the complete article. Okay, the Ninoy Aquino International Airport, or NAIA, will resume international flight arrivals on Monday, May 11th, with chartered and commercial planes scheduled on specific days. The Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, or CAAP, said Saturday, so today, earlier this morning. This came after the suspension of all commercial flights at the main international gateway in Manila and 8 other airports in the country a week ago as part of measures to prevent the spread of the contagious coronavirus disease 2019, or COVID-19. The airport remains to operate on limited capacity with a cap on passenger arrivals. In a notice to airmen released by CAAP's Operations Center, inbound international chartered flights will only be allowed to land on Mondays and Thursdays upon clearance from the Department of Foreign Affairs and aviation authorities. International commercial flights will, meanwhile, be allowed on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, CAAP said. Airlines will have to first secure approval from CAAP 48 hours before the scheduled departure from the airport of origin for the necessary slotting and rescheduling of flights in order to subscribe to the 400 passengers per day capacity of NAIA, CAAP said. CAAP also said the restricted flight arrangements will remain in effect until June 10 at the Manila airport, with other international airports in the country having their separate restrictions. The NOTAM, or NOTAM, does not cover emergency, cargo, military, and maintenance flights, which were allowed to continue after last week's flight suspension order. I'm going to hold off on my opinion on this and actually ask you guys about your opinion on it. I want to hear your thoughts about letting international flights come in already starting May 11th. So yeah, if you guys want to share your opinion on that, you can drop it on Facebook, or you can send us an email at eatwalkplay@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your opinion. Drop in your name, and we'd be happy to read it on the next episode of this podcast, and we can discuss it in detail. Okay, and another thing that I actually came across, another article. So I've been reading up a lot on, of course, the travel changes after the quarantine. Hang on. Okay, so there is one thing that I've been reading on, and this is from Republic of the Philippines, PNA, or Philippine News Agency, .gov.ph. And this is actually something that I've been thinking about during the lockdown already. The headline of the article is this: Domestic Travel, Key to Jumpstart Tourism After ECQ. That makes a lot of sense, because with the GCQ in place, and I guess, again, until COVID-19, or there's a vaccine or cure for COVID-19, it doesn't really make any sense to travel internationally. Now, here's where the saying comes in, like, love your own, right? So it's time for us to really love our own country and spur our own tourism. Okay? So I'm going to read this article again. So it feels like I'm just reading articles to you guys, but this is really interesting and really an eye-opener for everyone. Okay. Domestic travel is seen to jumpstart the country's tourism industry once measures against coronavirus disease 2019, or COVID-19, have been relaxed, the Department of Tourism said Friday. Once the ECQ was lifted, once the GCQ was lifted, once the tourism enterprises start operating again, we see that the domestic tourists will be the one initiating movement, Tourism Undersecretary Benito Bengzon Jr. said in Filipino during the Laging Handa briefing. Bengzon said social distancing and health protocols are likely to stay and would serve as the new normal. Safety before anything else, and we need collective efforts to really flatten the curve. Time will come when the tourism activities will go back to normal, he said. Earlier, Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat said international travel might not happen this year, pending the travel restrictions of other countries. For the 3 months of 2020, Bengzon said revenues from foreign arrivals fell by 35% compared to the same period last year. Under a proposed stimulus package, Bengzon said the DOT is expected to get approximately 43 billion pesos to fund its tourism recovery plans with focus on helping tourism stakeholders survive. In our initial computation, out of the 43 billion pesos that will be allocated to us, around 36 billion pesos will go to working capital, he said. Since the ECQ was implemented in March, the DOT's immediate response included coordinating with government banks to provide rehabilitation financing support to tourism businesses severely affected by the pandemic. Among others, DOT also mounted its own sweeper flights and assisted over 20,000 stranded foreign tourists. And currently, it is working on the return of affected local travelers to the national capital region. So, what does this tell us? Okay, so as I said, this is where the saying "love your own" really comes into place. I'm sure a lot of us travelers, are so keen on getting back on, traveling, especially if we have canceled travel plans affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. I think it's time that we again start supporting what is ours, meaning really spurring on the tourism of not that well-known places. Because personally, I've been to a couple of places that I saw more foreigners, tourists, than I saw Filipino tourists. You know what I mean? It's really weird because you would expect that since we're in the Philippines, there would still be a lot of like Filipinos traveling to other parts of the Philippines and really trying to see what that place has to offer. But more and more Filipinos lately have discovered that because of cheap flights abroad, and visa-free countries, a lot of us actually travel out of the countries, and other tourists or foreigners travel into the country. This time around, I think we really need to start making plans to visit local areas. Okay. I'm looking at travel guides. Travelbook.ph. They do have. Actually, they have an article here. They have a couple of articles about, the best places or safest places to visit once the ECQ or the GCQ has been lifted. And on the list, I would actually have to agree with a couple of this. The first one on the list is Batanes. And it makes so much sense because there aren't a lot of people actually going to Batanes. It's literally at the northernmost part of the country. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. Please do feel free to correct me on that. But it's so far from the rest of Luzon, and it's COVID-19 free. They're COVID-19 free. So if you go there and you don't have COVID-19, chances are you're not gonna get it from that place, right? And it's amazing. I've always wanted to go to Batanes because it felt like a different country altogether. It's so disconnected from the rest of Luzon that it feels like you're traveling out of the country. And it's not easy to go there either. So it actually does feel like you're not traveling in this, in the country. So that is one of the things or one of the places that we should really try to visit and really uplift the tourism happening there, because it looks like you're in New Zealand, really. And I think they have a lot of like other tourist attractions now. I'm not sure if they have diving spots, but if they do, it's gonna be so awesome. Okay, so here we have Sorsogon in this list. I'm not sure. It's in Bicol region, but I've heard from a couple of my Bicolano friends that really it might not be the safest to actually travel to Bicol right now. So I'm just gonna pass on that. Mountain Province is here. Okay. We also have Eastern Samar in Visayas, and Surigao del Norte. It's Surigao del Norte though has been gaining a lot of popularity because of Siargao. So whether it's safe or not, whether it's going to be congested or not once the ECQ and the GCQ have been lifted, remains unseen. But basically, you get the gist, right? Try visiting places here in the Philippines that, aren't that well known yet, but would really be, I guess, you discovering an untouched gem, and you also helping the tourism in that place. I mean, personally, that's what I'm going to do. Definitely, once it's safe to travel, I'm going to be traveling around the Philippines first. That is what's next for Eat Walk Play. Definitely, I've already made plans on where to go, where to stay. I've already checked out places and Airbnbs. So I'm gonna definitely do that. I don't have plans on traveling abroad yet for the foreseeable future. But yeah, we'll see. Definitely. Um, so yes, definitely. Travel will change because of this pandemic. It might take a couple of years before it goes back to the normal that we all know. But I'm also, again, from travelbook.ph. They have an article here about how the pandemic would change how we travel. And there are like 5 points here that I all agree with. First is travel outfits will change. Of course. Yeah, it's actually quite funny here. Just to read here. It will be tricky to flex your OOTDs when you travel because you have to wear proper clothing that will keep you safe from getting infected. For starters, a face mask will now be an essential part of your attire, with different colors to match your purse or scarf, perhaps. You may also need to bring your more clothes since you could feel icky about wearing that jacket or sweater again anytime soon. So, yes, I feel like a lot of our luggages will be heavier because we'll be packing up more stuff, more clothes. And we're gonna be like, let's think of it this way, we're gonna be like Korean stars, K-pop stars and actors wearing face masks all the time, just like trying to hide our identity when they're traveling, right? Yeah, so I think we can still take decent OOTDs with a variety of face masks as long as they're safe. Second point, domestic travel as the first option, as mentioned earlier. Number three, hygiene will be a priority. Just because, the funny thing is, this pandemic really taught us to wash our hands and use alcohol and sanitize when it should be the norm in the first place. You know what I mean? We should be doing that to begin with. Why do we have to wait for people to tell us wash your hands, put alcohol, use hand sanitizer? That just doesn't make any sense. That should be a practice that we've been observing a long time ago. But anyway, moving forward, even when we can travel, it's still safe to bring a bunch of alcohols in small bottles wherever you go. Hand sanitizer, yeah, should have that. Social distancing will stay. Yep. So I'm not sure exactly how that's gonna go when you're in a plane or in a boat. But we'll see how it goes. But yes, definitely social distancing must stay. It's more of a question if it will happen. It is a must, but will it actually happen? We'll see in the future. And yeah, so leveling up your travel preparations is a must. So now we really need to put a lot more effort into researching the place where we want to go to, research the place where you want to stay at. Be smarter when choosing your travel destinations, your routes, the activities that you want to do. It's really important now, even much more important now. You can't just like wing it and see wherever. The free spirit traveling might not be the best approach when you're traveling when the COVID-19 is still around. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Anyway, so that is pretty much it for traveling and COVID-19. There is one thing that I want to talk about. Last shortly, and that is Mother's Day. So it's gonna be Mother's Day tomorrow, May 10th, Sunday, and I think one of the benefits of this lockdown is actually spending Mother's Day with your mom. You're all at home, but I would like to reiterate that Mother's Day is not just about taking a selfie with your mom, posting it on social media, and then treating her like crap for the rest of the day. I know a lot. I'm so sorry. You guys might get upset about this, but we we know that this is happening. So let's just avoid that, okay? Let's actually spoil our moms today if we can. Let's treat them with respect, with love, and let's really make this a special day for them. And to do that, here are a few things that we could do for them, okay? Number one, breakfast in bed. I don't know of anyone who doesn't like being served breakfast in bed, unless they don't want crummies on the bed. But, you know, anyway, that's one thing that you can do for them. Cook them breakfast and then serve it in bed, or actually just cook them breakfast. Just don't let your mom do the work for the rest of the day. If you can cook for them, do so. It doesn't, I'm sure your moms are gonna appreciate the effort, even though it's not as, it doesn't have to be fancy. You could cook hot dog, eggs, toast some bread or sinangag, whatever. I'm sure your mom's gonna appreciate it. Give her a day off. Okay, it's a Sunday, it's Mother's Day. Don't let her clean the house. Don't have her do the laundry. If you could do it, just make her feel special for that day, right? You could take one for the team, once in a while. Okay. If you could, bake your mom's stuff. So actually the good thing, it's Sunday here in San Pedro Laguna. Actually, Sunday, deliveries are what do you call this? Are prohibited on Sundays. And stores are actually closed, even restaurants. So we couldn't have cakes delivered on Sunday, I guess. So unless you have pre-ordered your cakes and actually have them in your home right now on a Saturday to have them tomorrow, Sunday, if you don't have that, then you can bake, right? There are a lot of recipes where you can bake your own cake, cupcakes or cookies or whatever. Just bake your mom's stuff. If you don't need to have an oven. There are a lot of recipes where you can cook or you can bake on a stove top, or if you have a rice cooker, there are recipes available where you can bake a cake via rice cooker. That's actually really awesome. I haven't tried it yet, but it's really awesome. What's next? Oh, write her a letter. This, a lot of us are like writing a lot of cheesy messages on Facebook and then posting it. So we'll have a lot of likes and other comments or whatnot. No hate, guys. Definitely do this, especially if your mom is far away from you, literally far away from you, like in another country, or if your message is for other moms out there. But if your mom is at home with you, rather than posting it on Facebook and have her check her Facebook so she can read your message, why not write her a letter? Write her a letter. And I feel this is so underrated nowadays because we have smartphones and social media. But I think that's going to be great. If you could just write your mom a letter, if you can serve it to her during breakfast, just tell her how much you love her in your own words. No publicity whatsoever. Just a heartfelt letter. I think she's really gonna appreciate it. A couple of things that you can do once ECQ is lifted. You could schedule a spa date for the future. I think spas and salons are open once the ECQ is lifted, so you can schedule a date. You can get a mani-pedi, you can get massages. So yeah, and you can also make travel plans. So again, make travel plans for you and your mom, but to places that are safe and well researched. Okay, so yeah, I think that's it for me. I hope you guys are not bored whatsoever. It's my first episode, and I'm just really hoping that you guys liked it and that you guys don't hate it. It's been 45 minutes, and I hope you guys are still listening in. It's really exciting. So, next week on our second episode of Eat, Walk, Play podcast, the ECQ is either lifted or not. We'll see. And next week we actually do have a guest, so tune into that. I really do hope to have you all on board and to have you listen in on next week's episode. Okay. Thanks for joining us this week on Eat Walk Play. Make sure to visit our website, eatwalkplay.com, where you can read travel guides and news, food reviews, and more. And while you're at it, you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Eat Walk Play, for awesome and in-depth video content. We'd also love you more if you could follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Now, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating, or if you'd simply tell your friends about this podcast, that will really help us out too. Be sure to tune in next week for another episode on good eats, great travels, and grand adventures. Catch you later.